Hello, friends. This is Martin speaking. I really need your support. Please subscribe to the channel before watching. In this episode, we will discuss three very important topics. Each topic is important and interesting, so be sure to watch our episode until the end. Topic number 1. The end of an era. Blinken declares a new world order amid U.S. rivalry with Russia and China. Topic number 2. The rising power trio. North Korea, Russia, and China's Trilateral Imperialist partnership. Topic number 3. Putin's possible visit to North Korea. What happened in the Epoch-Making Talks with Kim? Topic number 1. The current global landscape reflects a notable increase in competition among nations, with the United States finding itself in heightened rivalries, both with Russia and China. This shift signifies a departure from the established world order. The United States Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, has pointed out that this evolving scenario presents a challenge to the international order, specifically in terms of the principles of sovereignty, territorial integrity, and independence, as well as individual human rights. This challenge primarily stems from Russia's actions in Ukraine. Furthermore, Blinken underscores the long-term challenge posed by China to the international order. This challenge is driven by China's expanding economic, diplomatic, military, and technological capabilities, which could potentially allow it to exert greater influence and potentially reshape the world order to align with its own interests. Additionally, Blinken observes a collaboration between China and Russia in promoting autocratic principles, a partnership he describes as having no limits. This alliance further complicates the global geopolitical landscape and raises concerns about its implications for global stability. In response to this escalating competition, nations around the world are adopting hedging strategies to protect their interests. Non-state actors, including corporations, non-governmental organizations, NGOs, terrorist groups, and criminal organizations involved in illicit activities, are gaining influence and exerting an impact on international affairs. Blinken's analysis highlights a critical juncture in world history, where the end of one era gives way to the beginning of another. The decisions made at this juncture will carry profound implications for the course of global affairs in the years to come. It is imperative to consider a range of perspectives on this matter. What are your thoughts regarding the escalating competition and the challenges presented by Russia and China to the international order? How should nations navigate this evolving geopolitical landscape? Your insights and opinions on these issues are welcome in the comments section below. Competition among nations is a recurring theme in international relations. Historically, global powers have often found themselves vying for influence, resources, and strategic advantages. The current situation, as pointed out by Secretary Blinken, is no exception. The competition between the United States and Russia has deep historical roots, dating back to the Cold War era. While the intensity of this rivalry has fluctuated over the years, it remains a defining feature of global politics. Russia's actions in Ukraine, including the annexation of Crimea in 2014, have raised concerns about its disregard for the principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity, which are fundamental tenets of the international order. China's ascent as a global power has added a new dimension to the competition. Its remarkable economic growth, assertive foreign policy, and technological advancements have positioned it as a formidable player on the world stage. As China continues to expand its influence, questions arise about how it will use its newfound power and whether it will seek to reshape the international order to align with its interests. The collaboration between China and Russia in promoting autocracy is a noteworthy development. Both countries have faced criticism for their human rights records and their actions that challenge democratic principles. Their alignment in this regard raises concerns about the global spread of authoritarianism and its implications for international stability. In response to these challenges, nations are adopting hedging strategies. These strategies involve diversifying alliances, maintaining a balance of power, and safeguarding vital interests. Such measures reflect the complex and often pragmatic approach that states take to protect their sovereignty and security in an increasingly competitive world. Non-state actors also play a significant role in shaping international affairs. Corporations wield substantial economic influence and can exert pressure on governments to advance their interests. NGOs, on the other hand, often work to promote human rights and provide humanitarian assistance in conflict zones. However, their activities can sometimes intersect with political agendas, leading to tensions in international relations. Terrorist groups and criminal organizations operating across borders pose security challenges that require international cooperation to address effectively. These groups exploit weaknesses in state structures and take advantage of porous borders to pursue their illicit activities, underscoring the need for coordinated efforts on a global scale. Secretary Blinken's assessment of the current global landscape as a crucial turning point is well-founded. The choices made by nations in response to these challenges will have far-reaching consequences. Will countries prioritize diplomacy and multilateral cooperation to address common global challenges, or will they resort to more confrontational approaches? It is essential to engage in a thoughtful and informed dialogue on these issues. What are your perspectives on the evolving competition among nations and the challenges posed by Russia and China to the international order? How should nations navigate this changing geopolitical landscape to ensure peace and stability? Your insights and opinions on these matters are encouraged and welcome in the comments section below. In conclusion, the world is witnessing an era of increased competition among nations, with the United States finding itself in complex rivalries with both Russia and China. These dynamics challenge established principles of sovereignty, territorial integrity, and human rights, particularly due to Russia's actions in Ukraine. China's growing influence adds another layer of complexity to the global landscape, with its economic, diplomatic, military, and technological capabilities potentially reshaping the international order. The collaboration between China and Russia in promoting autocracy raises concerns about the global spread of authoritarianism. In response to these challenges, nations are adopting hedging strategies, and non-state actors are gaining influence in international affairs. As we navigate this critical juncture in world history, it is crucial to consider a wide range of perspectives and engage in a meaningful dialogue about the path forward. What are your thoughts on these issues? How should nations address the evolving geopolitical landscape? Your insights and opinions on these matters are vital and encouraged. Please share them in the comments section below. Topic number 2. The rising power trio: North Korea, Russia, and China's Trilateral Imperialist Partnership. The current state of collaboration between Russia, China, and North Korea is a concerning development that requires careful analysis. In recent times, these three nations have shown signs of an emerging trilateral partnership, which has raised eyebrows given the international isolation faced by Russia due to its invasion of Ukraine. Facing a shortage of military supplies, Russia has sought assistance from countries with a track record of human rights violations, namely North Korea and China. Notably, high-level representatives from Russia and China have engaged with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un during a parade commemorating the 70th anniversary of the 1953 Korean War ceasefire. Further, there have been reports of North Korea supplying military equipment to Russia, China providing dual-use technology to Russia, and Russia proposing joint military exercises with both North Korea and China. It is important to assess this developing partnership from a neutral standpoint, while defensive objectives drive alliances and partnerships involving the United States. This trilateral partnership seems to be motivated by imperialistic goals. Russian President Vladimir Putin seeks to reclaim Ukraine and reincorporate it into a restored Russian empire. Chinese President Xi Jinping aims for regional, if not global, dominance by 2049, and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un strives for Korean unification under North Korean control. These aspirations are indicative of imperialistic ambitions within these nations. Although China and North Korea have yet to initiate major military conflicts to achieve their objectives, they have actively engaged in information campaigns, with China expanding its global influence through economic means, exemplified by initiatives such as the Belt and Road Initiative. China's extensive trade relations with countries like South Korea and Australia also demonstrate its ambition for economic leverage. On the other hand, Russia has displayed a more aggressive approach, likely rooted in the psychological blow caused by the fall of the Soviet Union, which significantly reduced its superpower status. Putin's annexation of parts of Ukraine in 2014, along with a proxy war in Ukraine, signifies his attempt to rebuild Russian power. However, the Russian forces' initial advances were met with resistance from Ukraine, surprising many, including Putin. Poor military planning, logistics, and combat readiness contributed to the setbacks faced by Russian forces. The conflict in Ukraine poses a significant challenge for the United States and its allies. Allowing Putin's forces to continue their expansion could lead to further territorial ambitions, while a clear failure in Ukraine might even result in Putin's downfall. In an effort to rectify these failures and prevent further setbacks, Putin has sought assistance from China and North Korea. The developing Trilateral partnership presents several risks that should be assessed impartially. Firstly, if North Korea and China provide substantial assistance to Russia, it could prolong the conflict in Ukraine and escalate the damages inflicted, including war crimes committed by Russia. This prolonged conflict would drain resources and supplies from Western nations providing support to Ukraine. Secondly, there is a possibility of China and North Korea sending military personnel and technical experts to Ukraine, effectively transforming it into a laboratory for weapon testing and improvement. Similar dynamics were witnessed during the Spanish Civil War prior to World War II, leading to enhanced military capabilities and heightened lethality in future conflicts for all three nations involved. Thirdly, as all three partners have expressed a desire for territorial expansion, there is a potential risk of simultaneous wars being initiated. This strategy would put immense pressure on the military forces of their opponents, as witnessed during the early stages of World War II. However, it is important to note that the United States' capability to simultaneously respond to three major theater wars appears limited, exacerbating concerns in a situation where multiple wars occur. Lastly, the possession of nuclear weapons by all three partners increases the chances of nuclear warfare if a major conflict ensues. While conventional nuclear integration was a part of U.S. military planning in the 1980s, it has not been a focal point since the end of the Cold War. Therefore, the lack of preparedness for this kind of warfare raises the risk of a global nuclear catastrophe. Considering these risks, it becomes crucial to discuss possible responses from the United States and its allies. However, countering this emerging trilateral partnership is not an easy task, as military strikes against North Korean and Chinese military supplies destined for Russia could escalate an already volatile situation in Ukraine. Nevertheless, several options and steps can be considered. Firstly, a deeper understanding of future warfare is necessary to adequately prepare and deter conflicts. The unpredictability of events leading up to the war in Ukraine, including the weapons used and vulnerabilities exposed, highlights the need for comprehensive studies to inform military requirements, particularly in terms of conventional nuclear integration. Secondly, the United States should continue developing new military capabilities that align with its budgetary constraints and effectively handle potential threats from Russia, China, and North Korea. Initiatives like the Replicator could leverage high technology and strategic thinking that are characteristic of the U.S. military, ensuring a well-rounded approach to counter these emerging challenges. Thirdly, the United States should assess and establish appropriate military force requirements to effectively respond to any warfare initiated by the Trilateral partnership. While defense budgets may be a concern, the cost of an inadequate defense budget that fails to deter adversaries can be far higher than anticipated, as demonstrated by Ukraine's experience. The potential consequences of a future war involving nuclear weapons necessitate prioritizing adequate military capabilities to prevent the initiation of such conflicts. Furthermore, economic and information operations can be employed to counter North Korean and Chinese supplies sent to Ukraine. Applying economic sanctions to North Korean companies involved in such activities, as well as pressuring China and North Korea to disrupt the transfer of military equipment, could limit the support provided to Russia. Publicizing any deliberate targeting of civilians in Ukraine with North Korean artillery shells may compel Pyongyang to respond to international pressure, especially when its involvement in war crimes becomes evident. Additionally, the presence of North Korean personnel in Ukraine presents an opportunity to communicate messages to the North Korean elite. By leveraging their affinity for South Korean pop culture, Dispersing USB drives containing media could influence their perception and potentially impact North Korean decisions. Threatening to deliver such USB drives to Pyongyang if North Korean artillery is deployed in Ukraine could also serve as a deterrent. Finally, exploiting the fissures within the Trilateral partnership might prove fruitful. Publicizing China's controversial map that includes parts of Russian territory could invite global attention and prompt China to explain its stance. Additionally, Russia may face difficulties in fulfilling North Korea's demands in exchange for artillery shells. Information operations highlighting the poor quality of North Korean artillery or failures of provided technology could contribute to disrupting the partnership. Understanding Chinese objectives and demands accurately could undermine the China-Russia relationship, as it might reveal disparities in perceived power and partnership dynamics. While these actions do not offer a definitive solution, they represent necessary steps for the United States and its allies to address the emerging threat posed by the Trilateral Imperialist partnership. Vigilance, comprehensive analysis, and measured responses are crucial to mitigating the potential risks and maintaining stability in the global arena. It is important to encourage open dialogue and discussion on this topic and invite the audience to share their opinions and perspectives in the comments. Topic number 3. Putin's possible visit to North Korea. What happened in the Epoch-Making Talks with Kim? North Korea and Russia held their first summit in 4 years, with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un inviting Russian President Vladimir Putin to visit his country. The meeting took place at Russia's Vostochny Cosmodrome Space Center, focusing on matters pertaining to mutual interests, regional peace and security, as well as international justice. The Korean Central News Agency emphasized the significance of the talks, describing them as epoch-making. Following the gathering, Kim departed for his next undisclosed destination while Putin expressed his willingness to uphold the long-standing friendship between Russia and North Korea. No specific details regarding the outcomes of their discussions were provided by the Korean Central News Agency. Despite the summit, Russian President Putin has not yet confirmed any plans to visit North Korea, according to his spokesperson Dmitry Peskov. However, it was announced that North Korean Foreign Minister Chu Sun-hu would be visiting Moscow in October. A potential visit by Putin to Pyongyang would mark the first time he meets Kim on North Korean soil. Previously, Putin had visited North Korea in 2000 to meet with Kim Jong-il. Kim Jong-un's father, who had previously engaged in a momentous summit with then South Korean President Kim Dae-jung. This encounter had raised hopes for an improved relationship between the two Koreas. Experts note that Russian leaders rarely visit North Korea, as historically it has been the North Korean leader who initiates visits to Russia. Lee Sang-suk, a researcher focusing on North Korean diplomacy and politics, explains that a Russian visit to Pyongyang only occurs when North Korea holds strategic importance for Russia. This potential visit by Putin, therefore, suggests that North Korea has attained significant strategic relevance in the eyes of Russia. The location of the summit, the Vostochny Cosmodrome, offers insight into what Kim Jong-un may have desired in return for potentially supplying munitions to Russia. With North Korea experiencing difficulties in deploying a spy satellite, it is speculated that Kim could seek assistance from Moscow to achieve this objective. Furthermore, he may also be interested in obtaining technology that would enhance the re-entry capabilities of his regime's nuclear warheads. North Korea possesses large supplies of munitions compatible with Soviet-era systems, which would be valuable to Russia as they have depleted their own stocks of artillery shells. However, the United States has conveyed that any military supplies would not significantly impact the course of the war and has warned North Korea of potential consequences for engaging in arms transfers. The United States, Japan, and South Korea have consistently criticized North Korea's space program, arguing that it helps advance its ballistic missile capabilities and contravenes United Nations resolutions. Coinciding with Kim Jong-un's visit to Russia, the U.S., Canada, and South Korea conducted a joint naval drill off the western coast of the Korean Peninsula in an effort to strengthen their response capabilities against potential threats from North Korea. Amidst these developments, a South Korean official claimed that North Korean weapons have been used by Russia against Ukraine. Although concerned about a burgeoning defense relationship between North Korea and Russia, the U.S. National Security Council spokesman emphasized the importance of no nation assisting Russia in harming innocent Ukrainians. He further emphasized that the U.S. would take appropriate measures to respond if Moscow and Pyongyang proceed with arms deals. Now we invite the audience to share their thoughts on this topic and provide their opinions in the comments section below.